So we now move on to our next panel. Artificial intelligence, AI, is rapidly shaping the global economy, and India stands at a unique crossroad with the largest young workforce in the world and the fastest growing digital infrastructure. The question now is, how can India translate its demographic dividend into an AI ready workforce? So, for this panel, we have Ashwin Bharath, the CEO of Galent and co founder and CEO of Revature, a company that has pioneered in scalable models of tech skilling and workforce transformation in India and the US. Dr. Sridevi Sharma, Vice Dean at the Whiting School of Engineering, who leads cutting edge work in AI applications to neuroscience and is helping shape the future of engineering education. Dr. Ritu Agarwal, William Polk Carey Distinguished Professor at the Carey Business School at Hopkins, is a global expert in digital innovation and health information technology. And last but not the least, Dr. Shibu Vijayan, who's the Chief Medical Officer, Global Health at Qure AI, which is India's most prominent AI healthcare startup, delivering impact at scale across multiple countries. Over to you, Shri.
Thank you. Hello? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, and I'd love to thank my panelists. We've had some great conversations behind the stage as well as today. So the title of this panel is How is India Preparing for an AI-Ready Workforce? So just briefly, we know that India is home to the largest youth population in the world. And at the very moment, AI is reshaping every sector of the global economy. The question isn't whether India can be an AI powerhouse, but whether we can train fast enough, scale deeply enough, and include widely enough to prepare an AI-ready workforce before the gap becomes unbridgeable. So today we'll ask, is India moving fast enough and smart enough to lead in the age of AI? So I'm going to start, well, actually, maybe I'll let my panelists briefly introduce ourselves and then we'll get started. Ritu?
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be part of this really important conversation. I'm Ritu Agarwal. I'm a professor at the Carey Business School at Johns Hopkins University. And I guess I'm on this panel because I'm part of the team that is producing an AI-ready workforce. So I teach graduate courses in artificial intelligence. I train PhD students, and I also teach executives about how to use AI in their companies.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashwin, and thanks for having me here. So the reason probably I'm here is I was dumb enough to start entrepreneurship route when I was 24, and lucky enough to have two successful business. My last 15 years has been primarily focused on training. As a matter of fact, we built one of the largest training company globally. When ChatGPT came in 2022, all these news, I just went to check to see, just to say that it's a hype. I've been in AI since 2001, but when I saw it, as more I went in, I realized this is probably the most powerful technology I have ever seen on anything I can think of. Then I again had another dumb moment. I just left Revature and acquired another company, an AI company, and went into that Galent. So I hope we will have a good session here. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Dr. Shibu, and probably the odd man in this panel. I'm a medical doctor among all the engineers and policy experts. I'm the user of the AI predominantly, and also like a deployer of the AI, representing a company called Qure, largely working on AI-driven public health innovations, and predominantly working on tuberculosis space. I working with the public in the public health space for the last 20 years. Started my career as a tuberculosis doctor, and then become the TB program implementation with the government of India, and then moved to WHO, PATH, MSF, and now joined Qure a couple of years back as Chief Medical Officer of Qure. Looking forward for the discussion. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And maybe I should just say why was I maybe chosen as a moderator? Not sure, but I am a user. I'm a professor in biomedical engineering at Hopkins, and I use AI to study neuroscience and neurological disorders. So great, so let's get started with probably the very first thing, which is definitions, right? So what does it mean to have an AI-ready workforce in the Indian context? Who sits at the table? Ritu?
Thanks, Sri. So I just want to let Ashwin know that I have a few years on him as far as introduction to AI is concerned. I did my PhD in AI in 1980s, and everybody told me that it was going nowhere. so, okay, so back to your question. I want to shift the conversation a little bit, right? So we are here to talk about an AI-ready workforce. But I think we should think about an AI-ready nation as opposed to just a workforce, right? And I'll say a few more words about that later on. You mentioned, Sri, in your opening remarks that AI is transforming society, AI is transforming business. Let's zoom out for a minute and ask ourselves the question, what is this moment in time that we're at? I don't want to sound like a techno-optimist or a techno-evangelist, but I do think that it is an inflection point in many ways in the rate at which the technological innovation is proceeding. It is exponential, and the changes will be upon us before we even know it. So I think it would be in the best interest of any nation to be thinking about how to start leading in the global AI race. And I would like to think that India is poised more than any other nation to do that. So who is the part of this AI-ready nation? I think of it as sort of the Pentagon, if you will. I can't use my hands to make a five-sided pentagon. But there's 5 groups or buckets of individuals who need to be part of this conversation, right? So I'll start with obvious one, the technologists. So we need people who can build AI systems, who can train AI models, who can do the cloud computing, the data, the infrastructure, everything that's needed for AI. Second, and this is really critical, are the researchers and the scientists who are going to build the next Indian version of DeepSeek or whatever that might be, who will do cutting edge research, who will perhaps even exceed the capabilities of what we're seeing in Silicon Valley as far as R&D is concerned. Number 3 are what I call value innovation experts, right? I mean, at the end of the day, AI is a tool, it's a technology. We need to figure out how to match it to real problems, business problems, public policy problems, government issues. And the value innovation experts are the ones who have the domain knowledge, the doctors, the farmers, the healthcare specialists, the educators, and who can marry it with the capabilities of the technology to say, okay, here's how AI can create value in my sector or my business. Number 4 is the AI leaders and visionaries, right? And this spans the gamut, starting with our politicians, the bureaucrats, business leaders, even those in panchayats who are leading the conversation in 70% of India that lives in villages. And the last piece of this pentagon are the users, right? So to your point, we've seen India's digital transformation. We've seen tools like WhatsApp and Paytm, just penetrate parts of society that we never thought possible. And before we know it, AI is already there in WhatsApp. It'll be in every one of the tools that people are using and will continue to use. So we need to figure out how to get them literate, fluent, and be able to utilize these in ways that are creating value for them. So to me, and maybe I should add a 6th, just listening to Dr. Irani speak, the women of India are the 6th part of the AI workforce.
Thank you. So maybe you can speak to how is India preparing in the education sector from K through 12 to higher ed to vocational training. How are we preparing people to become AI literate, AI fluent?
Absolutely. And I really like the way, Ritu, what you put, like AI-ready nation, right? I'll just add on a few points, then I will come to that question, Sridevi. So, see, I think when it comes to AI-ready workforce, we are all focused on automation. Yes, AI is going to make automation better, but we are also focused on productivity. Yes, productivity is going to be on steroids. But to me, what this second generation of AI, what this is giving us is a higher capability. If you think of these functional models, any of these large language models, it's literally like over 1 million Einstein-level intelligence embedded in these models. We need to create really, really good AI users. Our ability to use that intelligence into an actual outcome defines a higher order of capability. So to me, an AI-ready workforce is enabling the best AI users. India, I personally believe the road for faster AI adaptation globally leads through India. I'll tell you why. Everything that we know is going to be different. If I can think of one country that can commoditize AI workforce, that's India, and that's what we need. Specialists, yes. We just need 50,000 AI specialist workforce globally to create these models and make up. We don't need more than that, but we need millions and millions of AI capable users. The only way we can achieve is by commoditizing that, and India is the game for it. So I personally believe India is going to play not one, probably the significant role in AI adaptation. Now, Sridevi, coming to the question, I think it's very important that K-12 has to adapt to it. And the way they should do it is by playing it as a marathon, not as a sprint. It is very important to do that because this is a question of capability. I'm fortunate enough to advise the Fairfax County Public School systems on AI. What I'm telling them is most of the learning that the students are doing and the faculties are doing is self-learning. Very few are getting it right. Most of them are learning it wrong, especially on an early technology, which is a fast adaptation technology. Have a basic platform for awareness. What is important, what it means. And these terms that we use in AI, for example, inference time compute or training time compute, these sound very complicated, but they are nothing but very, very simple things. How do you educate these fundamentals? Prepare the K-12 education, prepare the workforce for the game of marathon, not for the sprint. That is my advice when it comes to both here or also in India, actually.
Thank you, thank you. So maybe we'll turn to you, Shibu, about industry and government. So what roles do you think they should be playing when it comes to training and funding, and are they playing these roles today in India?
So I'll answer on the AI-ready workforce. From a health perspective, we have 160,000 health and wellness centers. For me, the AI-ready workforce is all the community health workers and the CHOs are enabled to use AI, at least for two domains. The scribing support, because they have to maintain 13 modules of health packages we have to deliver through this health and wellness centers. And I assume these are 13 different registers. So even if they can actually come back in a single way of capturing information, the scribing support and protocol adherence, because these are the 13 different protocols. So this is, for me, that is the AI-ready workforce. If we can actually kind of capacitate them to adopt a tool which can help this thing, and which includes LLM in the backend to actually have all the modules made smart to kind of help them in adhering. Then, automatically the other things fall in line because a supervisor can monitor whether they are adhering to it. Then the telemedicine can happen automated. So all these things are actually ready workforce. On the training bit, I would say there are attempts to actually get into that part, but it's very patchy as of now. So industry does training for enabling their adoption of the tool. For example, we do training of the health workers to make them acquainted with the technology and also accept the technology. It's more of a technology awareness for adoption and acceptance of the results. What we do is that our predominantly deployed technology is X-ray AI interpretation tool. So it's largely for tuberculosis detection. So one of the things is that when we started actually deploying, there's an acceptance issue. Oh, can a machine do it? Because traditionally doctors were doing it. So there's a lot of unlearning need to be done to, hey, technology can do it. This is what it is done. This is the main studies I've done. I personally was actually asked to get out of the room by radiologists because and they doubted my capability as a doctor sitting in the room. So I think that from that, which happened in 2016, when now we actually go, it's more of, okay, I want to understand, we want to work with you. Actually, we want to be enabled to be much more smarter. So that curve is there. So the industry's angle is to make the adoption serious and make it easily. But on the government side, there are attempts to actually do it, that partnership being now built. The best example is India AI Mission. So India AI Mission is forging partnership with industry, academia, including ICMR, IITs, and IACs. So that attempt is, so that we need to actually see that progress being made in a much more structural way, but attempts are there. I would say suboptimal as of now. It's all industry-driven happening, but it's not in a standardized, formal, scalable way. It's not happening.
So you mentioned, so this is something maybe not just particular to healthcare, but you mentioned adoption, which, I know this is not the theme of today's panel, but I think it's very important to maybe dig into that a little bit, right? So we're talking about India having a major youth, presence. They are going to be the next generations. They are going to adopt because they're going to be trained in a world where it's already being adopted, right? But then you have the medical doctors that have decades of experience. I personally was told by a doctor who treats patients with epilepsy that he can have two separate patients present with the exact same symptoms, but he will treat them differently. So he was very skeptical, at least for today, that AI can replace him or do as well as him. Now, he's a very experienced doctor. So you mentioned we have to educate, but what are the challenges of that? Or what have you maybe experienced in, providing perhaps tools in that sector? Because it's not just training, it's also the existing workforce adopting.
Yeah, and absolutely. So I was in Rwanda a few weeks back, and then they were in the process of digitally transforming their public health post, which is actually equivalent to a PHC set or health and wellness centers in India. So they have a digital transformation officer within this thing. So they have digital tools and exactly this thing. So the digital adoption and the behavior change attached to it needs actually drilling down and main focus on adoption part of it. The best example is where I come from, the TB world. So the best example is case-based notification tool for tuberculosis. In none of the countries, except Brazil and India, none of the other countries have actually had at scale digitally enabled case-based real-time notification. It took 10 years to adopt for the frontline health workers with massive training. I mean, then you disconnecting the paper records and making it much more digital. There is a lot of effort. But that duration, that lag time is coming down. That lead time is coming down. That we are seeing over and over above. And I agree with Ritu. We should not see this as a health issue or a separate issue. It has to be in the realm of larger digital public infrastructure adoption. Starting from Aadhaar to ABDM, then you upskill. So you have to embed all these things in. Currently, these are all in bits and pieces. So health does their own thing, IT does their own thing. The Ministry of IT, so honestly, if I go to health ministry, there isn't much awareness about the AI and digital tools. They always are skeptical. On the other side, couple of blocks back, if I go to Ministry of IT, they're welcoming. So there is a need for integrated approach because doctors predominantly have skeptical because of their legacy in married to the medical education in the conventional way, which is not transformed yet. So that transform, but on the other side, engineers are much more welcoming on the Ministry of IT side. So we need more marriages happen to be that integration with the engineers and doctors in the multidisciplinary community. I'll give an example, like how, so the Ministry of Indian Council on Medical Research evaluated medical technologies, and that was a bunch of doctors. AI technology is being evaluated only by a bunch of doctors. So I raised this flag, okay, there isn't any doctor, any engineers in this thing. Data scientists was not there. I think that's again an acquaintance, an issue, knowledge of awareness, even at the highest body, need to transform into this. India AI mission certainly making very concerted efforts to break that silos and come making people to come together. The example is IIT Delhi, ICMR, and AIMS is coming into one platform to create a center of excellence to actually nurture this thing. Wherein private parties like ArtPack, which is under the IAAC, coming and helping them in creating data sets for evaluation, training. And so I think attempts are there. Maybe in another couple of years, we'll see much more accelerated efforts to make it integrated, make it much more adaptable and palatable to create more better solutions and better skilled workforce.
So this is a great sort of transition to what I was hoping to hear from you all, which is you mentioned the importance of having all the stakeholders in this AI space at the table early on, especially when policies are being made. So another challenge is really how do you build an equitable AI workforce, right? More inclusive and so forth. Maybe I'm sure all of you have some comments. Maybe we'll start with Ashwin.
See, this question is a very important question. Pretty much all of us should be thinking and working about it. If you are familiar with, so Department of Labor funds a nonprofit called ONET. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that term. So they categorized jobs as predominantly in US into 5 different job zones, zone 1 to 5. Zone 1 has the least requirement to enter, zone 5 have the highest one. For example, zone 5 are like PhD scientists and stuff like that, and zone 1 is like landscape workers or food preparation workers, right? Most of the jobs in zone 2 to zone 4 are services jobs, most of the jobs. And AI is going to make a significant change in the way we work on these 3 zones. And most of the new jobs are also in these things, and most of the white collar jobs are in these zones. And 2 interesting factors through all the great efforts that we have done, for example, women in tech are bringing people on lower socioeconomic status up in the chain. That is all in these zones. And by AI's impact, I just read some study, I forgot where it is, I think it could be John Hopkins also. 70% of these AI impact jobs, especially on certain categories, is going to be women's job, right? So we are going to see one of the largest workforce displacement because of AI. If we play it right, this displacement can be done as a relocation. It should not be a workforce displacement, it should be a workforce relocation. What I mean by that is AI is going to create a lot of higher order jobs too, different kind of jobs. But played it right, the first priority for us should be how do we relocate this existing workforce into this new higher order job? This has to come in a structured manner. At any time I talk to C-suite of companies or policymakers, I stress this importance. The initiatives has to start from them. You cannot let it go. It is really, really important that we take it very seriously. If you don't do that, some of the gains that we made in the last decade can be permanently lost.
Thank you. Dr. Ritu?
So I'd like to make one comment on the inequity part of it. Right, so Ashwin spoke about representation of women in STEM, and that's one piece of the puzzle. We know across the world that those who are involved in AI development do not necessarily represent the full diversity of humanity, right? But at the end of the day, we are training AI models to make decisions about individuals, whether it's in healthcare or manufacturing or whatever the sector it might be. And one of the areas that worries me the most in the context of India is that we don't have enough curated, localized data sets that are going to feed the AI models. And there is a danger, a real clear and present danger, that many of the prediction algorithms and even generative algorithms that are developed are reflecting a perspective of the world that does not capture the full diversity of India. So, from an equity perspective, I think the government, educational institutions, industry should really focus attention on building the diverse data sets that are needed for the Indian context. I was recently on a panel on looking at radiological images and what low and middle income countries lack in terms of the diversity of radiological images that they have, right? So cancers and other kinds of things present very differently in certain segments of the population. So if we are not vigilant in making sure that from the very outset, all of the AI development is actually being done by getting people from the rural, urban India, from the different states who speak different languages and who communicate differently, as part of the AI development process, I worry that we will lead to greater inequities in India. The other comment that I want to make very quickly is that we focus a lot on technical training, right? So we spoke about the skills development. There isn't enough conversation about responsible AI. There's not enough conversation about adoption, acceptance, the cultural change that's required of AI. And to me, that's a bigger stumbling block to getting to an AI-ready nation than just the pure technology.
Yeah, and I think time, we spoke about it behind the stage as well, is time. If you do get the data, we know development and progress, just go from ChatGPT's what happened 5 months ago to what's there today, is exploding in terms of accuracy, performance. So we will reach a time, I believe, that doctor who said, I would treat two patients who have to present with the same symptoms differently, we're going to get AI at some point there if there's enough data, right? And there's enough information. So I actually want to move a little bit to global capability centers, which are booming in India. So the question is, are they raising the bar for AI talent or are they absorbing it? Can you speak to GCCs? Maybe either one?
I can take it. So I personally have some experience working with GCCs, but before specifically coming to that question, see GCCs, when I talk to GCC leaders, they are using India not for cost for AI. They're using India because they're able to hire high quality AI talent at scale. Examples, pretty much the entire AI ML data engineering related to AI for Dell is happening from India. I had dinner with a board member of ServiceNow. 40% of their AI talent is in India. R&D AI is in India, and they're going to scale that up. So India is predominantly used to acquire high-quality talent at scale. But coming to your question, I have not seen meaningful initiatives GCs are doing to elevate the AI talent. There are consumers of talent available in India, but I haven't seen that. I hope that changes. But at this point, they are being opportunistic to consume the talent.
So I think there's a policy play here, which perhaps our government and bureaucrats should think about, right? In order to set up a GCC, companies should be required to give something back to the community. We know that the GCCs are concentrated in the tier 1 cities, right? Hyderabad, Bangalore, Coimbatore, Chennai are the ones where GCCs are located. And the reason Western companies strategically locate there is because of access to talent. But if we're talking about an AI-ready workforce that represents, all of the 140 billion people in India, 1.4 billion, not 140 billion, thank God, the 1.4 billion people in India, then the GCCs should be required to give something back and maybe extend their outreach to talent in the smaller cities so there can be wider diffusion. So to your point, yes, at this point they are net consumers of talent, but they're not giving back enough to the ecosystem.
Yeah, so one of the mission of India AI mission is again address the tier 2 deficiencies and create talent over there. So it is created under the they have 7 pillars primarily focusing on, all the elements what we discuss as challenges like data set, funding, innovation ecosystem, providing partnership, then again providing, and also government buying, so procurement. So what do you do? Because that is a major critical barrier. Government does not have wherewithal to even define to buy AI tools, because AI is actually software. How do you buy a software? So these are some barriers they're trying to address. Like even if you nurture startups to come and make products, how do you ensure they sustain this ecosystem, and then who is going to buy it? And if the government is supporting it, government has to be a consumer of it. So that is being defined. I think to large extent, again, I'm just saying I'm very optimistic because I'm in the thick of all the discussion. They also include industry like us as a mature industry, to orient and train, sensitize the people who are in the early on in the journey into the startup or even making some innovation. So the vision is right. The actions need to be happen. We need concrete examples of what happens, whether it is addressing tier 2 or not. There is a delay. There's a significant delay because they also have to kind of go through the bureaucratic process, because if they want to fund us, they have to actually justify it internally. Why would a single sourcing will happen versus, and at the end of the day, the whole aim is to actually showcase India as an AI champion and get all this product into a platform wherein when Indian missions goes to other countries, because I was seeing in other, like Netherlands comes to India with all their private parties coming along with us. I haven't seen any Indian innovations being actually kind of shepherded to other countries, say, hey, these are my buddies. So that's the vision the government of India is driving. But I'm hyper optimistic in that sense. Maybe in a couple of years, we see all the challenges what we discussed will be addressed in a very, very much positive way. Thank you.
So, the Niti Aayog has the AI for All initiative, which I think will be a big driver if we are able to turn it into policy as well. I just want to make one comment, sort of building on the discussions we heard in the conference yesterday, right? So, the United States, and particularly under the new administration, has taken a particular path to AI development, which is, let's not stifle innovation through regulation, right? And we heard some discussions on innovation versus regulation yesterday. But we also heard that every country has to chart its own path forward when it comes to economic development and technological development and so forth. And at least from my perspective, from where I sit, I feel like the government has an important role to play in providing that infrastructure for education, in providing the support, and perhaps even taking you on a road tour, right, to other countries to say, here's our AI talent and look how well we're doing.
One of the initiatives, I just need to mention that, again, in Government of India, with partnership with the bank and as well as WHO Southeast Asia region, creating a sandbox, building onto the the fintech sandbox principles. They're trying to actually kind of simulate the same thing in the health tech domain, uh, which enables testing, data sets, graduating, maturing, regulatory. So it's that helps, and so that more such things have been promoted from a center of excellence perspective in regions and states. As the government is also federal government is also pushing the states to move in that direction. The best example is the Karnataka government partnership with the Indian IASC, and also the partnership Telangana government has with the IIT Madras, and so there is lot more thing happening. But again, if we need to see a palpable change, we need time.
Thank you. So maybe one more question before we will open up questions from the audience as well. And this is for all of you. So looking 5 years ahead, and even though that seems short, it's not short when it comes to AI. What does success look like? And what bold bet would you make today to get India there?
So I see a 5 years from here, the 5-year plan of health being written by an LLM model. Based on the data assimilated by all the health workers using LLMs and data points, ABDM enabled, maybe 60% coverage of ABDM enabled, and the EMR, from the EMR, the 5-year plan first drafts should be by an LLM. That's it.
Thank you. Ashwin?
I will give my response in two parts. The first part is I think the future is going to be very successful, but it'll be going to be an interesting journey to reach there. The first one I would do is, like, I don't know if the Holiness Swamiji, Bharath Vihari Das. He heads the BAPS temple in Abu Dhabi. If you get to meet him or listen, such an intelligent guy. Went to meet him, ended up 3 hours spending with him on AI. So this is what I was talking. The LLM or whatever model India is creating or will create should not just have the intelligence of 1 million Einstein in it. It should also have the kindness of 1 million Buddha in it. India is the only country that is capable of doing it, because humanity, as we know, has to be preserved along with progression. So India should come in such manner. It is very important. Interestingly, he mentioned that he has spoke about these things to the Prime Minister directly of these things. I hope the model that we are building is going to come in that. But the second one I just want to add is this is more of a solving the belief gap. AI is more about having an adaptability gap. But unless you solve the belief gap, the adaptability gap cannot be solved. What I mean by that is, I personally think, similar to steam engine, similar to electricity, and similar to semiconductors, this is the fourth greatest paradigm shift that we are seeing. And this is going to be a challenging time. At the same time, it is really, really important that we see this as a progress. When a lot of people in AI, they're seeing this progress, is that it's going to burn the past. No, it's not. We can achieve progression at the same time preserve the past. I think that's the approach and belief that we should have coming to AI. I would like to say one last quote. The famous playwright Victor Hugo, French philosopher, playwright, he said, "Greater than the threats of mighty armies is an idea whose time has come." this is the time of AI. I think we have to have that belief and go make that progression. That's my sincere request, actually.
Thank you. Ritu?
So I guess I'll use a quote as well, except mine's from Spider-Man. And my quote is, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So if I think about success with AI for India 5 years from now, I would like to think that we have a country that knows what AI is able to use it with some fluency to take care of their activities of daily living, where we don't have the digital divide that exists today. We're able to provide the infrastructure and the tools widely across the country, as well as the fluency to use it. And at the same time, we have enough policymakers, we have enough business leaders, we have enough community leaders who are keeping a vigilant eye on building AI that is good and that's ethical and that's not going to lead to, a global intelligent arms race in the true sense of the arms race, and that can put guardrails around AI so that, mistakes like we don't have enough brown people in our database to make good diagnosis decisions, mistakes like that don't happen. So that's my vision of success 5 years from now.
Thank you. So do we have questions from the audience? I think we have a little bit more time to ask the panelists. 5 minutes left. Okay, maybe one question. Sure.
Loud and I can say I'm Smita Siddhanti. We're sending a mic to you. Oh, you're sending it. Let me pass it. Excellent. Thank you very much, though. It was an awesome panel. Thank you all. I'm Smita Siddhanti. So the point that was very well made was that how GCCs are using the talent that exists today. But the reality of the massive talent that we have in India and the potential of the rural India, is there a way to create GCC types of preparation? I mean, the talent prepared to actually support and get the talent from rural India. And I say more that to Ashwin, who's in the training business, because I did see that there's a whole new wave of doctors or rural doctors and rural nurses being, and this is the first experiment that's happening in Muddanhalli in near Bangalore that I visited. But I just think that was a unique one. It's like the BAPS person is like the Swamiji there did that. But it's very, it's what I'd like to see what you think is the effort going on, or any of you that you know about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Smita. Nice to see you here. And I think this is a very important task, and the government is making initiatives, especially the National Skills Development Council is making some significant initiatives, even increasing the incentives for employers to upskill and train the rural workforce. But it's going to be a challenging one, my personal opinion. It's going to be a challenging one unless we fix the problem right from K-12. Even engineering colleges can struggle. So the immediate closest solution that I can think of is both non-profit and for-profit AI-based boot camps, job readiness boot camps. I think that should be adapted at really large scale. And the question, in my personal opinion, is education is already expensive in India. Any such solution that should come should be an employer-paid model, not a student-paid model. So your ability to create such grassroots level bootcamp designed for rural India, making it into an employer-paid model rather than a student-paid model that's successful. I'm seeing some initiatives happening, but I think the government should have initiatives to start early funding for these models, like the Workforce Investment Act that we have here. Such things has to come in, and how we can adapt it, that's the very key. That's the quick and easiest solution that we can adapt now, actually.
Actually, I was going to make another point, so we'll wait for another question.
I think maybe one more question, and then.
I'm Dr. Raj Shah. Question, more than question, it's a comment about when you're talking about technology in India and AI. First of all, AI depends on what you get is collection of data. That has just begun. Even Google is trying to collect the data in India and coming up when Sundar Pichai last year mentioned about how the retinopathy data showed prediction about cardiac events earlier. So let's talk about what India is doing. India is way ahead of probably America and rest of the world in bringing technology for improving healthcare. Example, eSanjeevani started in 2020, currently provides 1 million consult free of charge to any Indian when they request every day. No country in the world does that. They are already working on electronic medical record, e-prescription, and when all these things are done, we will have tremendous data which will help to drive AI. Even today in America, your Epic doesn't communicate with Athena. It will be a national program, which I know they are working on it. Look at translation of different languages. 28 languages in India. They already created Manas, and if you remember, Prime Minister, when he gave in a rally in Tamil Nadu, he was speaking in Hindi, and they were all listening in Tamil using their headphone. So we are doing phenomenal job, and I think in next 5 years, we will be at the forefront in the world. Thank you.
So can I just make a comment on that? I think ABDM will transform AI in healthcare in India. So that is something, I think that's part of the reason why all of us are so bullish about where India will go with AI. So thanks for bringing that up.
And just, we're running out of time, but I'd like to thank the panelists, and I'd love to end on that very optimistic note. And thank you again for joining, and thanks all for coming.